Let's talk about writing Razormouth. It's been a long time since I started writing on this thing, and I've done it in fits and starts over a bunch of years. If memory serves, I think I started this thing in 2012, which is a long time. And call it 2025 was like the last time I fiddled with it, like most of the way through the year. I've been touching it off and on over that period of time, but it's not something I've moved as far and as fast forward as I would like to chronicle the progress on this thing. It basically started as an outline, as almost all things do, the idea, this is what we want to discuss, these are the conflicts, these are the characters, this is where I'd ultimately like to take it. And I outlined the vast majority of it going forward for the entire main character story arc. There is stuff that can play after the main story arc, but it's not to the point where it's ready to release. Physically, the story has about enough words that would be able to fill up 2.5 to 3 books right now. The break points, the conclusion points, are not really set to where they're easily formatted into books with what's out there right now. When we're looking at this thing, the first book is done. Most of the second book is done. There's some side questy stuff that has to happen for the plot to grow and evolve. This is a multi-year epic for these two main characters, dragon that's harassing them. This project has taken a lot of years because first I had to go back and research all the pieces and parts, and then maintaining the life, doing jobs and getting paid for stuff after. It's not a project that you can just sit down and just slave through. It's really hard to spend a substantial amount of time putting something like this together and then not getting paid for it. It's important to have the income coming in elsewhere, and the fiction piece, which is much harder to monetize. Some projects take years because just how they all evolve, just how the pieces and parts have fit together. This seems to be one of those projects that's very detailed. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and a lot of it can sound like excuses, but if I don't know how to sail a long ship, for example, I have to go and study all that for quite some time. If I don't know how to forge a sword, and there's an integral part of a quest that might drop into somebody's lap during the story, that's important too. It's important that we have an understanding that these things can take time. We don't automatically have these pieces and parts so that we maintain our credibility during our writing. Because if you actually know how to forge a sword, and I'm pulling stuff out of my third point of contact to try and fill pages, you're going to read that and you're going to really hate what I put out. I don't like that kind of credibility and immersion breaking nonsense. I try to avoid that. Another reason these things take a long time is that, like I said, I've done a lot of stuff in between. A lot of work has been put out. A lot of jobs have been done. A lot of business has been done. So it's the writing, as much as I would like it to take the forefront and as fun as it is, it doesn't pay the bills for everything that I do. So it's important to keep that in mind. As passion project as it is, it's not the passion project that keeps the lights on. One of the main things that has caused this project to take years is that I have been working with the intention of publishing the whole story all at once. One of the problems that we've had famously is authors writing massive tranches of fiction and not finishing them. But it's really important for me that I get this thing pushed as far along as possible before I take a pause on it. It was my original intent to write the trilogy, or the 4 books or the 5 books that's going to comprise this thing, and get them all done at once and release them in relatively short order. I don't think that's going to happen because there's a lot more that has to go to filling the pages and to tell the stories that need to be told. Because it's not just one story. It's a continuation of multiple stories tied together into a coherent whole, like our lives. Never have just one thread and then we're done. This is more of a Tolkien-inspired, single perspective, epic kind of thing, where we're following a single character through his life and the interactions that he has with those characters. It adds developmentally elements of risk and difficulty that we don't normally see. How do we maintain our passion for a long-term project and a long-term manuscript? One of the ways that I find is to make sure it's good. Because if it sucks, it's very easy to fall off the radar. If I don't want to do it anymore, I'm not going to do it anymore. I've got a lot of pieces and parts and projects that come and go with, I don't want to say mood, but come and go based upon what is striking my fancy at that time. And I've had a rash of coloring books get done because I enjoyed them. The holidays were here and we were having fun with them. I've done chunks of other kinds of fiction where it's just rapid fire, they get done. I've had other projects that are parallel with Razormouth, a science fiction kind of classic Captain Kirk style character. That one's moving about the same pace as Razormouth is. They're moving in tandem, so I'll write on Razormouth for a month or two, and then I'll write on the other one for a month or two. And they're getting 10, 20, 30, 40,000 words put into them at a chunk, but they're not completion chunks, which is obviously super important. So maintaining the interest in a long-term project is difficult, but doable. And how I do it is basically I keep them in mind. And I have lists, and I say, oh yeah, this would be really cool to add into, and I'll hit the project. But the problem is I've got 9 projects going right now. So there's a lot of open project files, and that's disorganized, maybe unprofessional, but it keeps things interesting because I'm not slaving away. I'm not grunting through something just for completion. I'm writing something with the intent of it being really good. That's how I'm skinning the cat on that one. It may not be the best method, but it's a method that's working for me. So basically, I maintain interest by doing a bunch of other different things and writing pieces and parts that I think are good, because like I said, they'll pop in the head and I'll just sit down and I'll write 30, 40,000 words over a span of 10 days, 20 days, and advance the story significantly. The creative evolution from first draft to the current version, the first book was probably in final edits form 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Could have been published, but like I said earlier, I had chosen not to chase it that hard because I wanted to publish a substantial portion of the book all at once. Books 1, books 2, books 3, books 4, books 5. I think I would like to publish the first book because it's time. It's been sitting around for too long, and I think that the peer pressure of putting it out would be nice to advance the project. I have a lot of other things I'm working on right now, so I'll spend 2, maybe 3 hours at the beginning of 3 days, 4 days a week, and I'll advance the fiction. The rest of my 8 or 10 hours after that is spent doing other business and money-making project and things. So the writing is not a sitting here for 12 hours a day slaving away kind of deal. It's broken up substantially. So the limited time that I budget, it is what it is. As far as the current version of the book, that hasn't really evolved too much. We have added attacks on raider camps and stuff like that. Later parts of the story that evolve the story beyond the first book. Not much evolution going on in the first book. That one's mostly done. It's the following adventures. Those are complicated fights. Those are a lot of skirmish and active engagements where people are moving around lots of different places. And frankly, I've got 2 or 3 other fantasy fiction books that I'm playing with too. Marcus the Warrior falls in there. The science fiction one, the Captain Kirk style one, that one falls in there too. Those are out there too, and those, based upon the conflict between Marcus and Razormouth, there's a lot of different moving pieces, and I might have an idea for a certain fight, and I don't want the fights to get repetitive between the books, so I want them all to be choreographed differently. Something to keep in mind. Razormouth is mostly written stylistically in the Tolkien single perspective for the book. I use the Alexandre Dumas style where each chapter has a specific point that we need to get across. So if we have a trap laid for pursuit, we'll set out that trap in one chapter and we'll move along, and we might hear the results of it because we're a mile ahead. We're gaining distance between pursuit or something like that. So those kind of nuggets press to the next chapter and they tell the story. As we are advancing our characters, as we're having our interactions, each chapter builds upon the prior, and each chapter is there for a reason. So very strongly Alexandre Dumas inspired stylistically. Basically the 3 characters we have, the 3 main characters, are a warrior named Alburn, which is basically translates to bear. He's an orphan adopted into a raider clan. He promoted himself from abused slave to crew member by the sword. And then we've got the dragon, which is the embodiment of the lust, the greed, the power, and the forces that we need to confront, the enemies that we need to overcome. The dragon is also tied in with the goddess of destiny because the dragon is so long-lived, it understands how destiny intertwines. And then there's the farmer who is raided and she's captured, and now she has to deal with both the villains of her life, the dragon that raids her farms and the raider that raids her farms. So she's sort of stuck in the middle, and that's a shitty place for her to be, but she has to deal with it and she has to overcome it. And there's specific requirements that both Alburn and the dragon Razormouth need to accomplish. The whole process of navigating destiny is an ongoing issue in the book that complicates the writing. I think we'll stop there. The first book is currently scheduled to work on it tomorrow afternoon, but we'll see if we actually pull the trigger and get it out. So it could be available as early as Friday, hopefully, if nothing goes absolutely insane, but we'll see how that works. You have a great week.